Good morning, everyone. I hope you are well today. Welcome to Center for Spiritual Living Greater Dayton. I'm Reverend C.C. Coltrane. If you're here for the very first time, thanks for sharing your morning with us. We are glad to see you and hope that you will tell us how to stay in touch with you by using that little tear-off strip on your program there. You can fill it out and take it over to the Welcome Center after the service, and we will keep you apprised of events, and we'll also add you to our Wednesday spiritual pick-me-up list. Every Wednesday I send out a little email that just says, here's something to think about this week. So in this community, one of the things we're passionate about is building community, because that's how we walk this path of life and make it out as sound and whole and amazing and glorious as we can, and that's by walking it together. Sometimes we help each other walk when the going gets tough, and sometimes we dance together when the going is easy. Know that no matter where your path has led you at the moment, if your path is rocky or not, we'll walk with you, and you'll find love and support and encouragement here. Our pulpit assistant this morning is Linda Andriaco. Nobody's in their usual places, and there's a reason for it, so I'm like looking around going, who was it again? Our pulpit assistant today is Linda Andriaco, and our vigil holder is Marge Russell. Our interfaith candle lighting will be done by Judy Nussmacher and Lenza Smith. And the reason that we do the multi-faith candle lighting is because we draw from and honor and respect the wisdom of all the world's religious traditions, and that's exactly what our founder Ernest Holmes did, so that's what we do as well. We're going to spend a couple of minutes saying good morning to each other, greeting each other. She's ready. We don't want to make anybody uncomfortable in doing that, so if you are not comfortable with hugs, just put out your hand for a handshake or stay in your seat. Otherwise, we'll hug each other and greet each other for a few minutes, then we'll come back and sing together. I am opening. So when you hear the music, come back and sing. But right now, let's greet each other.
We light the first candle in honor of Christianity. There is no clear distinction between mind and spirit. There is a quality of mind that is more than thought and the process of thought. This quality involves the wholeness in which the life of man has its being. What is being considered is what a person totally means when he says, I am. We light the second candle in honor of Buddhism. Let us vow to bear witness to the wholeness of life, realizing the completeness of each and everything. Embracing our differences, I shall know myself as you, and you as myself. May we serve each other for all our days, here, there, and everywhere. We light the third candle in honor of Islam. I laugh when I hear that the fish in the water is thirsty. You don't grasp the fact that what is most alive of all is inside your own house. We light the fourth candle in honor of Hinduism. I am the true self in the heart of every creature, and the beginning, middle, and the end of their existence. We light the fifth candle in honor of Taoism. How does the true person of Tao walk through the walls without obstruction and stand in the fire without being burned? Not because of cunning or daring, not because he has learned, but because he has unlearned. We light the sixth candle in honor of the Native American traditions. I have been to the end of the earth. I have been to the end of the waters. I have been to the end of the sky. I have been to the end of the mountains. I have found none that are not my friends. We light the final candle in honor of Judaism. In Hebrew, the word for peace is shalom, from the root shalem, wholeness. In the language of the Torah, if there is wholeness, then there is peace. The two go together. We do not achieve peace through division and fragmentation, but rather through completeness, through wholeness.
Today's reading is from Nona Brooks, The Highest Good for All. Since unity is the basic principle of universal expression, let us base our living, our thinking, and our doing upon this law. When we live true to basis, the hard experiences of the external pass away, and our days grow restful, free, and full of joy. That which we experience in the spirit of unity cannot limit us. Let us take these words into the silence for a few moments. So right here, right now, God is expressing in each and every person here and each and every person in this world. God is expressing through the beautiful sunshine, the cool, crisp air, cleansing away all the dirt and bad and everything in between. We are part of this universe. We are part of this love. We are part of this joy. We are part of this sunshine and ever growing, ever expressing, ever being. I am thankful for this. I am thankful for every person here, every person who is everywhere in this universe. I am thankful for this band, for the children, for the community, and every person that has shown up today. And I say, thank you, God, and so it is.
And so it is.
So how y'all doing?
Good.
Hanging in there? It's been quite a week, hasn't it? Quite a week. I know that I've talked with a fair number of people who are really suffering, who are frightened, who are in anguish. There's a lot to be understood here. There's a lot to be understood. I don't know, the first couple of days I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning just sort of rigid, just sort of thinking about what there is to understand and how we understand it. And if I finally come to a place of openness. A friend of mine said the other day, you can't wring your hands and roll up your sleeves at the same time. So I am here in rolling up my sleeves mode. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. It's okay that you're not there yet. It's absolutely okay to feel all the feelings. If it's on the one hand, you're really happy, on the other hand, you're grieving. I'm grieving because I thought we were someplace that we're not yet. It's okay to be a little fearful. I think the whole community is, because we love each other and we're very diverse. This is a place it's okay to feel and express those feelings. And so we had a lot of people doing that this week. And if you are on the other side of the spectrum and sort of feeling vindicated, I just ask you to understand those people who are feeling fearful or discouraged. There's a lot of stuff being expressed by people, not the people who are running. There's just a lot of stuff being expressed that's making people feel very vulnerable, which is one of the reasons that I was being waked up at 4 in the morning, because I felt vulnerable. But because I love you, and because we stand for love here, I want to ask you to do some difficult things, because I think we all have to do these difficult things. And the first one is, I want to ask you to allow yourself to be changed by all this. I want to ask you to be open to having it be a transformative experience. I want to ask you to do some things that I think will make your individual lives better, and I know will make our collective life better. And the first one is, don't make up scary stuff unnecessarily. Don't be paralyzed by the scary stuff. There's plenty of scary stuff as it is, but I learned from the people of Al-Anon, the families of alcoholics and addicts, they say, let it happen first. Let it happen first. Because otherwise we get paralyzed with fear and we can't do anything. We can't be who we are. Lots of people made up a lot of scary stuff during the election season on all sides, and all it did was terrify us all. Let it happen first. Time to let that stuff go. The second thing is just to simply remember that everything without exception is an opportunity for greater love, for expansion, for growth, for evolution, for all of us to grow and become more of what we came here to be, regardless of whether we supported Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or somebody else. Regardless. If you were here when Dr. Jim Lockhart spoke last year, you might remember his discussing the way we evolve. There is a leading edge to human evolution, and that means there's a lagging edge. And in between is this great majority of people who kind of get moved one way or the other depending on the argument that appeals the most to their hopes and dreams. Or in some cases, the one that's shiniest. I hate we're human, what can I say? The thing about it is, we are moving forward because we can't move any other direction. Life doesn't go backwards, it only goes forward, right, into the future. For example, if there's a species that goes extinct, even if you could recreate the original conditions, you wouldn't get that species. It's going to be something different. It's going to be something different because life evolves. That's its nature. Dr. Ken said that our job here at Centers for Spiritual Living is to gather the consciousness and help people become comfortable moving forward. And he's talking about the people in the middle who are wondering which direction they want to move in. What happened last week was a very, very complicated thing, but I think this sort of evolutionary perspective can bring in all the parts of that very, very complicated thing. There were issues that came up of misogyny, there were issues of xenophobia, fear of people who are different than we are, of racism, of economic insecurity, of anger at not being heard, of privileged. I mean, we saw all the issues in our country written very large. We did. All of these things are involved in what I think is a very ripe evolutionary moment. And we in the U.S. aren't doing this by ourselves. Brexit happened, and it was the same issues. This fear that life is not going to be what we expected it to be is global. It's global. It is. So I'm standing right now in a place of wonder. And what I mean by that is I wonder how I can help heal this fear. I wonder how I can help people center themselves in their truth. I wonder how I can create a place where it's safe for us to let go of old expectations and see what comes up. A place of safety and listening for anyone who's feeling frightened or disenfranchised or despairing. I wonder how I can express love more fully, more completely. And here's what my week of going deep, contemplating and meditating and feeling all the feelings has resulted in. It's not complete by any means, but this is where I am now. The first, I am always at choice. I am at choice to choose between the two root feelings that give rise to all the other feelings, fear and love. I am always at choice. I can choose to be love in any moment. And I use that verb to be on purpose. I didn't say I could choose to feel love, because my human feelings sometimes are not very loving. They aren't. I'm human. But I can choose to be love in every single moment, to come back to the consciousness of wholeness, to remember that we're never separate from God, that we're never separate from each other. Even if I'm feeling angry, I can choose to be love. I don't do it perfectly, I'm just trying. And that's what I'm asking of all of us. We can choose to be love even in scary situations when we don't know what to do. You know, there's part of us that is screaming, fight or flee or you're going to die. We can stop and choose to be love. We can. We can remind ourselves of something really easy to forget. An act of generosity is a gesture of ultimate power. An act of generosity is an act of power. Because we know in our deepest selves that love is more powerful than fear. We teach it, but we've all experienced it, haven't we? You've been scared and you've had somebody love you up, and all of a sudden you're not scared anymore. You've been depressed and you've had somebody love you up, and you know all of a sudden you're not depressed anymore. You've been hurt and somebody loves on you and you step back into a place of peace. We know that love is more powerful than fear. And that's why being love and being generous with our love is such an act of power. We are working from the most powerful thing in the universe. We are. So instead of looking for evidence for my fear, which hey, look, I got an A in that class. Instead of looking for evidence of my fear, I can look for evidence that I am love. I can look for evidence of love in other people. I can seek to see that in the main. I can look for opportunities to be love, so that when somebody needs a kind word or just my company or a glass of water, I can give it to him. I can give it to him. It's an enormous act of power when we're generous with our love. And I'm not talking about force, I'm talking about power, spiritual power. There's a great little film that came out of Britain after the Brexit vote that was about how we can create space that's a little less scary for people who are vulnerable to these sort of unleashed acts of prejudice and xenophobia. Regardless of why you think it was unleashed, it has been unleashed. Very simply, don't be a bystander. Very simply, don't look away. If you see a woman who's being hassled, or a gay person, or a lesbian person, or a person of color, or a transgender person, or a person in a red hat that says "Make America Great Again," if you see them being hassled, go up and start a conversation with them, not with the attacker. That's dangerous. Go up and start a conversation with the person. Go up and start a conversation with the person who is having difficulty, and if necessary, say, maybe we should go get a cup of coffee together. And just grab them and go take them somewhere else for a cup of coffee. See, most people who are bullying others don't want an audience. And you're giving them an audience. You're standing there with this person talking about the weather, or shoes, or a movie you saw, and they have an audience and they'll go away most of the time. And then don't turn away immediately. Wait until the person who's having difficulty comes back to themselves. Maybe that means you say, do you need help calling a friend? Do you need a glass of water? Do you need anything? Just stay with them till they get themselves back together. One of the things that I've had the most difficulty with is, I'm way privileged, and I'm trying to recognize that. I'm straight, I'm cis, I'm white, but I'm also female. And my first experience with being treated as not human happened when I was 10 years old. And I'm not going to tell you about that because it's too awful. But when I was 14 or 15, I was on the bus from Salt Lake City to Helper, which is the town I was born in, Helper, Utah, to go to the rodeo. And I was taking the bus by myself because I was too young to drive. And this man got on and chose to sit next to me. And so after we left the lights of the city and got into the canyon, he reached over and put his hand on my thigh, way too close to a place that he shouldn't touch without permission. Picked up his hand and moved him. He put it back. He picked up his hand and moved it. He put it back again and again and again. And there were people sitting there who saw it and did nothing. And did nothing. The message to me was, I shouldn't say anything about this. This is just boys being boys. For God's sake, I don't want to teach our kids that any longer. I don't want our kids to come up thinking that that's okay. But also, those adults could have helped me, because I was a child. No matter how grown up and cool I thought I was at 14 or 15, I was a child, right? My life as a woman is full of these kinds of stories, and probably every woman in this place could tell you their stories, no matter what their gender or no matter what their sexual orientation or color. We've all experienced it. And so when we can just understand that a little bit, and understand some of the confusion that's happening right now. I kept hoping we were beyond that, and we're not. We're not. But it also means for me to recognize that gay women and gay men and transgender people and people of color have a whole nother layer of that going on. And it also means that I have to try and understand what the idea of Make America Great Again meant to the people to whom it was moving. What does that mean to the people? I've come up with this. I may be wrong. I think it means make this a place I can understand again. Make this a place where the American dream is possible for me and my family again. Make it a place where I know how to be. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just the result of my own contemplation. Those in the middle are confused and disappointed, and some having a lot of difficulty just making ends meet for their families. And they're feeling frightened and despairing and kind of like the world is broken too. So we need to stand up for them too. We need to stand up for each other no matter what. We won't change anything by being afraid of each other. We won't change anything by putting each other down. We won't change anything except by being the love that we already are, that we were born into. Because remember that leading edge and lagging edge thing, what every spiritual teacher has ever told us, and what science tells us is, we can't go back. The past is past. We can only go forward. We can only go forward into an America where there's room for all of us. And we listen to all of us. We can't go back to the place where people were in the closet. We can't go back to a place where we can round up immigrants and put them in. We can't. We can't. Life only goes forward. And as we go forward, we're going to hit these places of real resistance. Real resistance. There's real resistance showing up all over. There's resistance to the necessary and inevitable death of old ideas about people who are different than we are. That death is necessary and inevitable because we've got to come to a new understanding that what we are is one. You know, unity is a ways away yet, but it is a fundamental spiritual truth. We have to come to an understanding that people who are not like us are actually just like us. We're one with them. We all want the same things. We want our fundamental needs met, and we want our dreams to come true, right? Resistance to the idea that the world is no longer a place where you get a job with a manufacturer and it takes care of your family for your life and then gives you a pension. That's gone, and it's not coming back. We have to find a new way, new thing to learn, new skill set, new ways of creating what the world needs now. We run into resistance. But resistance is futile. We know that, right? We have to get over our resistance to hearing each other. To hearing each other. But of all the people, all the way along this evolutionary spectrum, if we don't figure out how to help us all move forward, what worries me is that this structure will break in two. We have to help lead each other on whatever path evolution looks like. We have to let go of the resistance and move into being love. And then from this place of being love, we can think about unity. The time will come when it's okay to think about unity again. So we are at a monumental evolutionary place, I think. You and I and others, everybody who gets this idea that change is inevitable, we gotta stop wringing our hands and start rolling up our sleeves. We have to get to work. And the work is simply expressing the love that we already are. We have to express the light that we already are. We have to choose to be love instead of fear. We have to become generous in ways we have not been generous before. Generous with our love. Generous with our love and our time and our ears and our hearts. And we have to remember that we have the power to create the world, to own our brilliance, to give our gifts completely and wholly. And it's time for us, I think, to learn a little bit different definition of compassion. Pema Chodron wrote this, and I just found it this week. She said, compassion is not a relationship between the healer and the wounded. Compassion is a relationship among equals. Among equals. Compassion becomes real when we recognize our shared humanity. Big dose of compassion. And it's time for all of us to become good allies for each other, no matter who that other might be. Whether it's somebody a woman in a hijab or a person in a Donald Trump red hat, whether it is a gay or lesbian or transgender person or a person of color, we got to stop being bystanders. We got to start being love. We have to actively work to be as brilliant and clear a spiritual light as we each can be. It's time, as Emma Curtis Hopkins put it, to demand to see the good here. We have to demand to see the good here. And I mean, the blessing in all of it. There is a blessing somewhere. It's time for some serious deepening spiritually, because I know that if I'm going to go high, if I'm going to be love, I have to go deep to support it. I have to do my prayer. I have to do my meditation. So I invite you to take a few minutes every day to pray for the people who are like you, and then pray twice as long and twice as hard for the people who aren't like you. For the people that you don't understand. Pray that they are safe and happy and at peace and joy and have joy, and pray that every good thing you want for yourself comes to them. Pray for everyone who voted for Donald Trump, and pray for Donald Trump. Pray for everyone who voted for Hillary Clinton, and pray for her. Pray for everybody who is just not on your radar. Pray for the highest and the best good for all of us. Pray for yourself that you have the courage and the compassion and the understanding to be all that you already are, all that you came here to be that light, to be that compassion, to be that brilliance. Commit to choosing to be love. You know, you can say to the fear, thank you for sharing, right now I'm being love. I say that to myself all the time. Somebody once said that people who talk to themselves are actually genius, so I got it. I am always talking to myself, in grocery stores, everywhere. I must be a genius, I don't know. Simply commit to being the love that you are. I have a safety pin on my shirt today, and I want to tell you about the safety pin and ask you to look at it in this particular way. This too came out of the Brexit vote in Great Britain. The safety pin means I am a place of safety for you. And it means no matter who you are, I will stand with you, or I will sit down for you. I will speak for you, or I will shut up for you. It means I will do what needs to be done to be love for you, to be a place of safety for you, no matter who you are. I will do my best to respond to your needs from my highest level of wisdom and understanding and love. There's a little dish over there with safety pins in it. And I urge you to pick one up and wear it every day, not only to express your intention to be a safe place for people, but to remind you that you can be love in every moment. To remind you to make that commitment every single day to be love instead of fear. Commit to stand for the highest expression of good, the highest expression of love, the highest expression of God for everyone. Everyone, 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 no exceptions. We know that that's possible. With God, everything is possible. With each other, everything is possible. And that's what we're called to do. And it's not easy. It's not easy. So I want to tell you a little story about robins and tiger beetles. And urge you to live like robins. You know what robins do? They run forward really, really fast, and then they stop and they cock their head and they listen. And if there's nourishment there, they'll eat it. And then they're nourished, and then they run another little bit and they stop and cock their heads and listen. And if there's food there, they'll eat it. They nourish themselves repeatedly. And they don't run too fast or too far without taking some nourishment. Tiger beetles, on the other hand, run faster for their size than any other animal on Earth. But there's a price they pay. When they run full out, they go blind. So be a robin. Stop frequently and take nourishment. Nourish that part of you that needs nourishment to keep being loved and to keep being love in the world. Stop and take nourishment from each other. Stop and take nourishment from community and from that deep place within yourself where life expresses in light and in love. Stop and take nourishment when you need it. And then move again. And stop and take nourishment and move again. And don't forget to sing along the way. That's what robins do, right? So to help you set your intention to be love, to help you make the commitment to be all that you came here to be, to help you with this commitment to heal our world by showing up as love. The love that you already are. The practitioners are going to join me in a chamber of prayer for you. So I would invite all the practitioners to simply stand up around the edges here, and we're going to surround the sanctuary, praying out loud and all together for each of you. And then at the end, I invite you to just sit in silence for a moment and sort of let it all sink in.
So I'm knowing that right now, in this moment, I remember what I know to be the truth is all of us, the only power, that there is only one, that is only God, that life and power and presence of the universe is in and through and as me, and it through and as everyone in this room within. So what I know, that means we are ingrained with that, the very presence of God, that power. We are in power. And so I know that the beauty and light and goodness and generosity is what we are. So I know for each one of us that we stop, pause, and nourish ourselves and draw from that deep wellspring of God that lives in our hearts. And we express it. We are the receiving and dispensing stations for the life and the love and the beauty of God. We let it out into the world. We allow ourselves to be so generous with love that we heal each other, that we banish despair, that we cause good things to happen in our world, that the love quotient is off the charts. And we do that simply by recognizing really what we truly are and saying yes to it, leaning into it for nourishment so that we can choose to be loved. I know this is just the truth of who we are. It's inevitable. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I give thanks for it. I release it. I know it to be so. And so it is.
Thank you, practitioners. We now have an opportunity to give in support of our spiritual center. If our ushers will come forward, please. Everything that you give makes it possible for us to be here on Sunday and to offer the classes and the workshops we offer, and to offer space for meditation and spiritual practice, and to have a place where our kids grow up to learn that they are already loved. I want to invite you to just take a moment and take some nourishment, the nourishment of gratitude. Simply stop and count your blessings. Count those people around you that you love, those who love you. Count this community, this place of safety. Count the fact that you woke up this morning, to this beautiful day. All these things there are to be grateful for. And simply let yourself be filled up with gratitude. This is spiritual nourishment of the highest order. And know with me, my heart is open.
My heart is open.
I give from my open heart.
I give from my open heart.
I know that as I give, so do I receive.
I know that as I give, so do I receive.
And I am grateful.
And I am grateful.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Couple of quick announcements, and then there's stuff in this. There's a little bit of stuff in the social hall after service. Join us for coffee and a bite to eat afterwards. A couple of quick announcements. Next Sunday, November 20th, Reverend Mark Anthony Lord will be here as our guest speaker. He is an amazing guy. He is one of my mentors. He's a teacher. He's founded the Bodhi Spiritual Center in Chicago and then left there several years ago to do what he's doing now, which is supporting ministers. But he's an extraordinary man, an extraordinary speaker. I think you'll really enjoy him. And then after service, he'll be doing a workshop on forgiveness, and he's powerful, powerful, powerful in that area. It's kind of perfect timing, isn't it? And and it's the holidays coming up too, so it's doubly perfect timing. So plan on coming to hear Reverend Mark Anthony and then staying for the workshop. We'll just pass the basket out at the workshop. It'll be on a love offering basis. And also next week, right after service, if you can't make the workshop, but if you could stay for a few minutes to help raise that light pole back up, the one that was taken down to check the power supply. Just a few people with good backs to kind of put it back into position. That would be very helpful. You can talk with Teresa Napke about that if you have a few minutes to stay and help. What's coming up after that is December 2nd, holiday decorating party. December 11th, our community holiday meal after service. And December 18th, a really spectacular solstice celebration with Carl Anthony. I have experienced his laser kirtan. It's lights and chant and music, and it's wonderful. I've been there twice, and so it's $20 in advance or $25 at the door, and it's a couple of hours of singing and being together, and a really cool atmosphere. So please plan to be here for that. We do have tickets available at the Welcome Center. You can also call us and we'll put you on the will call list if you want to call the office to do that. There's a lot happening and it's all good. It's all really good. And it will be healing and balancing for us, I think. You can also look at the last page of the bulletin and your bulletin insert for all the activities that are coming up in the next little while. If you would like more prayer after service, our licensed prayer practitioners would love to pray with you. They were all the people who were standing around. Many of them are wearing teal or white stoles. You can just walk up to them. They have studied and practiced for a long, long, long time to be able to see the spiritual truth regardless of circumstances, regardless of whether we can see it or not. And their gift to you on Sundays is prayer. So you can also put a written prayer request in the box on the table, and it'll be picked up after service. You can call our prayer line. You can make a request from our website, which is www.cslgd.org. Something else? Oh. Thank you, sweetie. Thanks to everybody for being here this morning. Thanks to everybody who made this service possible. The ushers and greeters and practitioners and welcome team and this amazing batch of musicians here. You're fabulous. The Higher Mind Band. Yay! And of course, all of you. Let's stand and do our closing affirmation and then we'll sing. Stand. I know you're already standing, but I'm bumped. So please repeat after me. Today I am a place of love.
Today I am a place of love.
I am a space of compassion.
I am a space of compassion.
I stand for the highest good for all.
I stand for the highest good for all.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Have a fabulous week, everybody.